Megan Miller went viral, claiming she was a victim of family court injustice. But the deeper people looked into her story, the more things didn't add up.
I stand with God. I don't bash anybody. I am not an attorney. I'm not a lawyer.
And now even her child wants her in jail.
My child supposedly telling the GAL that they want, and the therapist that he wants me in jail. My son and I were like this. If it was a doctor or a therapist, in my situation, my daughter went behind my back and went to the police station with her friends and friends' parents stating it. I wasn't even there.
Wait, what? How did things get this bad? Why would her son want to keep her locked up? I'll spill the tea, so grab your popcorn and hold on tight because this is going to be a chaotic ride. It all started in 2006. According to Meg's sister, SJ, Meg met her ex-husband in 2006. They got married the year after and had 5 kids between 2008 and 2013. Sounds like a lot, but to be fair, the last 2 were a set of twins. She and her husband were separated in 2013, the same year that she had the last 2 kids. Note that. 3 years after that, they were divorced. The court ruled in Meg's favor, giving her 80% custody and $6,000 in child support. But everything changed in 2019, and custody was reviewed to 60-40. Megan wasn't happy with the change, but things were still pretty stable until her first child left her residence in 2022. That's when things really started to go south. At first, everyone loved Meg. She was an idol and a mentor to many other mothers and parents who had previously fought or were currently fighting the safe battles. With over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, almost 60,000 followers on TikTok, another 60K followers on Instagram, and a growing community on Facebook and X, Meg had a strong support system. Her story was very relatable. A vulnerable woman with a cheating, abusive husband.
I like that you said it's the most dangerous times when you leave somebody like that. It took me 6 years to leave because he kept getting me pregnant. And it's not just the most dangerous time. He still does it. I'm still hiding out. And I had 5 kids with him. And he still is trying to figure out my location. And he's literally keeping me in court system and draining me. So, it is the most valuable time. But even through the divorce, he put a GPS on my car 3 years after we were separated. He's still stalking me, harassing me. And I had equity in our home that I got, and that paid for our divorce. It took 3.5 years. And after that divorce, which during that, he put a GPS on my car, and he sent me flowers every day. And that book you'll see on one of my videos where it's all these love letters, he was sending me those love letters when we were going through divorce, and he was trying to take my kids full time and stating I was a horrible mother. But the judge saw the truth. $350,000 in my equity. Never got it. All to lawyers. And he, a few months later, took me back to court in another state. And now the other state won't look at my divorce as evidence. And so, yeah, now I'm still in court. 10 years of court. And I can't find a lawyer anymore because lawyers are all corrupt. So I'm screwed. And I'm hiding. And I'm trying to tell my story because I don't want to end up like Micah. I don't. But what do we do?
She quickly gained a lot of support, and many people found her story believable. Meg wasn't an activist. She was neither controversial nor political. She was just a young mother crying in her car, seeking justice. She portrayed herself on the internet as a loving mother who wanted nothing more than to be with her kids.
I am their mom. This isn't just flooring. This is what survivor looks like when the courts take your kids. With every strike of this mallet, I'm not just laying down a floor. I'm fighting back the thoughts that never leave me. With every other board, I wonder, what are my kids doing right now? Are they laughing? Are they safe? Do they know how much I love them? My hands stay busy, my body keeps moving, but my mind always drifts back to them, to the moments stolen, to the memories we should be making.
The fact that she kept pushing relentlessly without giving up made her shine as a beam of light to other mothers.
I'm reading everything. Thank you guys. I've been trying to work and not focus on anything but my work, and I came back and my view of my daughter's video had 38,000 views. Sorry, I was eating and reading everyone's comments, and thank you guys. Oh gosh.
Meg's story was very emotional, relatable, but if you look deeper beyond the tears, you'd see that her story wasn't consistent. Watch this.
In 2013, I was pregnant with the twins, and my ex left me for another woman my ex left me when I was pregnant with twins, but...
She said her ex left her when she was pregnant with twins, right? Okay, now listen to this.
When I left, he used the court system to destroy...
Here she says she was the one who kept leaving. Now, on its own, that might not seem like a big deal. Relationships are messy, and people sometimes explain them differently. But this wasn't the only time the details of Meg's story started shifting. The more videos people watched, the more they noticed the narrative kept changing. And that's when things started getting really hard to keep up with. Some other times, the inconsistency takes a different shape.
I stand with God. I don't bash anybody. Disabled? That he's swimming with dolphins? I stand with God. I don't bash anybody. And my sister that has a very bad mental illness. But I stand with God. I don't bash anybody. I know you're friends with my sister that has no kids either and doesn't even know what it's like to raise kids, and you don't have any kids either. And I stand with God. I don't bash anybody. That day, because this foreign attorney is horribly rude and mean. Bad. I stand with God. I don't bash anybody.
She says one thing and does the absolute opposite, and it's not one-off.
I stand with God. I don't bash anybody. So way to go, teacher in Liberty, Missouri.
Now, if these were the only lies, it would have been easy to overlook. But these lies weren't even as severe as the ones she told about the cause she was fighting for.
5 kids stolen from me by a corrupt family court, an abusive ex, and a stepmother who's been trying to take my place for over 11 years. That's the truth. And every time I drive through this town, it hits me like a truck. You want to know why my car's always full of stuff? It's not clutter, it's protection. Because if I don't fill these seats with something, I see who's not in them. My 5 kids, my whole world, stolen. That school parking lot right there, that's where all my 5 kids went. I spent thousands of hours on that car line, waiting in the sun and the rain and the snow, with snacks and crafts, playing music, just to be there when that bell rang. Because that's what moms do. And when school was out, that parking lot turned into a racetrack. We'd ride bikes until the streetlights came on. The kind of joy you'll think will never be taken from you. I've drive through this town and every turn is haunted. That park, I pushed them on those swings until my arms ached, and I'd gladly do it all again. That pool, I taught them how to float and to swim and to laugh and how to live. But now I pass it with my heart in my throat. And I know they've been told lies. That if they even talk to me, look at me, love me, I'll go to jail. That I'm not doing what I need to do to see them. That I gave up on them. But that isn't the case. I've been blocked by a corrupt judge, a biased GAL, and a court-appointed therapist who all work together with my ex and his wife to erase me. But I'm not gone. I'm right here. Now it's just me and my little Silky, the last softness I can hold on to, but I'm still driving, still hoping, and still fighting, because I will never stop being their mom, and I will never stop telling the truth. I love you!
So Meg earlier said her kids were taken from her without any hearing or trial whatsoever. But when people started digging into the actual court records, the story looked very different. According to those records, Meg was given multiple hearings and several opportunities to present her case and defend herself in court. In other words, this wasn't a situation where she was suddenly blindsided or denied the chance to speak. The documents also show that the court had appointed a GAL, guardian ad litem, which is a court-assigned advocate whose job is to represent the best interests of the children during custody cases, and Meg was aware of the fees associated with that role. In fact, the judge specifically noted that those guardian ad litem fees had to be paid before a certain deadline. The order clearly stated that if those fees weren't paid within the stipulated time, the trial would be canceled. So according to the court records, Meg knew exactly what was required and what would happen if those requirements weren't met. From what I can see here, she actually had the opportunity to see her kids, to fight for them. Why she didn't fight legally at that time, I don't know. It might be more complicated, and I wouldn't judge her. But the fact that she lied about it, claiming there was no process whatsoever, just feels off. Soon enough, people began to assume that she wasn't the victim she portrayed herself to be. Some people even went as far as implying that Meg's behavior was consistent with the definition of narcissist.
A narcissist will abandon anyone, no matter how close, if the relationship threatens their delusion of being blameless. Accountability is their breaking point. The moment someone challenges their version of events, asks for an apology, or holds up a mirror to their abusive behavior, the narcissist will choose their ego over the relationship every single time. This includes their spouse, sibling, parent, even their own children. It does not matter. Nothing is more important to a narcissist than control over the narrative. And in that narrative, they must always be the hero, the misunderstood victim, or the self-sacrificing martyr. Anyone who dares to tell the truth, anyone who won't play along, becomes a threat that must be eliminated. So they discard, they abandon, and they smear. You won't just be cut off, you'll be vilified to anyone and everyone who will listen.
Everyone seemed to agree to it in the comments. With so many lies flying in the air, people started to question everything they believed about Meg. They wanted to find out the truth about the divorce, separation, and the terms of agreement, and they did. We've already established that Meg's claims that her kids were taken without a hearing or testimony is completely false. But there are so many more allegations she made about her case that are also not true that made her earn a swell dose of sympathy from the online community. She then went further to say she didn't have any pictures of him with the twins. Well, here's a shocker. If he was gone, where did these pictures appear from? And that's the thing. Meg really took the time to paint her ex-husband as some sort of big bad wolf who abused her and is still abusing her to date.
It's incredibly dangerous to leave an abuser, because the final step in the domestic violence pattern is to kill her. Over 70% of domestic violence murders happen after the victim has ended the relationship, because then the abuser has nothing left to lose. Other outcomes include long-term stalking, even after the abuser remarries, denial of financial resources, and manipulation of the family court system to terrify the victim and her children. And still we ask, why doesn't she just leave? I was able to leave because of one final sadistic beating that broke through my denial. I realized that the man who I loved so much was going to kill me if I let him. So I broke the silence. I told everyone. The police, my neighbors, my friends and family, total strangers. And I'm here today because you all helped me. Abuse thrives only in silence. You have the power to end domestic violence simply by shining a spotlight on it.
And I won't dispute that because that's very serious and sensitive. But the narrative she's giving us, the emotional framing, even in court, it just puts everyone on the edge. I mean, when she put out this video of her mom crying from the shock of the kids being taken away without any notice, no trial, no hearing, and in her words, no due process.
Okay. I feel like I'm in a movie where everybody's been raptured because the family used to live here, or they were trying to leave, and they never came back. The last time I was here, we had so much fun, and now everything's packed up. We played spoons on that table.
She had us sold. Another shocking lie was the stalking allegation. Meg didn't only portray her husband as a cheater and abuser, she also claimed that he was stalking her. Again, the internet sided with her until this.
Here's her car, and our home, and then this is the date. June 15th is the first night she spent the night when the children were not there.
Apparently, there are legal documents that prove that she was the one stalking him. By the way, evidence also shows that Meg was the one who filed for child support and custody, not her ex. and that just further complicates the narrative. Honestly, things aren't looking good for Meg at all. At this point, if someone were to tell me that she manipulated the court, I would believe without an ounce of doubt.
You don't find that suspicious?
Even with all the controversy around Meg, she still brands herself as a legal advocate.
I am not an attorney. I'm not a lawyer. I will be next year, though.
First off, she lied about that too, because Meg was not in law school at that time.
That she's going to be a lawyer. Well, she's not even in school to be a lawyer.
But that's not her focus here. We're more concerned about the real people whose lives were hurt along the way. Here's the thing. Meg is not an attorney. She has no law degree, no license to practice, yet she offers legal advice, even sells legal roadmaps and case reviews to desperate parents who trusted her in their most vulnerable moments. She also offers courses and one-on-one coaching for parents who need help with family court. At first, it didn't seem to be a big deal when one of her federal cases got dismissed. And for a while, no one batted an eyelash, even when the second one got thrown out.
June 7th to June 13th of 2024, I found evidence the GAL was communicating with DCF. Emails, phone calls, back and forth with DCF. That's not neutral. That's not legal advocacy. That's interference.
It's neutral, it's legal advocacy, and it's not interference. A guardian ad litem's job is to represent the best interest of the children. So when a guardian ad litem in the aspect of his job feels that the children are unsafe with a particular parent, and he knows that there is open investigations from the Department of Children and Family Services, DCFS, it is the guardian ad litem's job to speak with DCSF about their findings, to let them know what he is seeing from his perspective. Now, I'm not saying there aren't corrupt gals out there, because we all know there are, but in this case, this gal protected those children.
And yes, I have multiple federal lawsuits against these same actors, and that is public record.
It's very odd that she's touting these federal cases as a badge of honor, because the actual case that she's shown in the screen, this was filed just a few weeks ago, and in this document, it dismisses the case against two of the people she's going after, and the other one, they put in order to show cause because her original filing didn't have enough of a reason to actually have a lawsuit against that person. And then she has her second federal court case. It's this one right here, and in this document right here, if you look at the title, it is a recommendation for dismissal from the judge. So these cases don't have the merit that she thinks she has. Anybody can file a lawsuit, but you got to file a lawsuit that has merit. The last person that I would be taking legal advice from is somebody that hasn't won their court cases and is having their federal court cases dismissed. This is not the beacon of hope that you all want or need. This is not the beacon of hope that's going to change the system, because as soon as she gets in front of legislators and they realize the truth behind her story, they're not going to trust her, and anything she attempts to push is going to be deemed invalid.
In fact, some people were even celebrating. But when one of Meg's clients was jailed in San Diego, it became a huge deal.
Help! One parent is in jail right now because Stand With Meg gave her false information. She's in jail in San Diego.
That's when everything exploded. Different people started coming forward, calling Meg out for fraud. One of the loudest voices at that time was someone who had seen it all up close. Her ex-friend Elena publicly claimed that Meg uses ChatGPT to generate legal filings for herself and for her paying clients. And that's exactly why the outcomes were always so disastrous.
Filing motions and stuff, it just wasn't the right motions. She would go through, she would look at other people's motions and kind of like attach them to different ideas and like AI and stuff, and she always used AI. I mean, it just never worked, especially for me. I guess just my situation. All the motions I filed got sent back. You know, like, this isn't correct, this isn't right. This looks more like you're telling me what's going to happen instead of like writing a motion. So for me, they were all wrong. For other people, I mean, I know she helped a few other people that would come over. I know it didn't work out for them either. I don't know what their cases are. I didn't really want to get into it, but just anything she did, nothing worked out. And I'm like...
Now, I said ex-friend for a reason, because Elena didn't just casually drift off from Meg. They had a full-blown fallout. But what really happened? I'll break it down. So here is how it actually started. Elena met Meg on TikTok. Her content felt real and relatable. And soon enough, they started talking, and shortly after, they ended up living together. Elena genuinely thought their friendship was going to help her with her court case. After all, Meg constantly bragged online about how she's helped so many parents beat the court system. So Elena probably thought, great, everything would be so much better. except it wasn't.
So it was not a good idea to bring her. The judge looked at her and said, "Oh, it's you." The judge has never told me to like turn my cell phone off or like have all these like rules and regulations until she was in court with me. And made everybody turn every device off. And like he said, if you are recording and if I find out on social media, there will be, consequences and all that. So I was like, oh, wow, he's never done that before. I didn't thing that I wanted with her being there. Well, she actually sat next to me and the judge was like, well, she cannot help you. She can't do anything. She's not an attorney, all this stuff. And I had my computer up, she would still do stuff that she wasn't supposed to. And I completely at that point ignored her just because what the judge had said. I was like, I knew it was a bad idea to bring her. And I'm like, great, this is not going to work out in my favor. And then the judge was like, I'm not sure what Miss Miller is showing you on your computer. She was like, oh, I'm just bringing up the files on her computer. And I was like, it's fine. And at that point, I shut my computer because I knew that I was already done. Like I was just going to leave it. Whatever was going to happen. And then I would just move forward after that. After that court case was when everything kind of just fell through with us. And I think she kind of knew it too.
Elena wasn't the only victim. Another ex-friend also called Meg out on TikTok for the exact same reason. But you know what makes the whole situation even more complicated? According to SJ, her biological sister, the problems between her and Meg didn't just appear out of nowhere. She believes the conflict goes much deeper, all the way back to their childhood. In several statements, SJ suggested that the dynamics people are seeing play out today are actually something she's witnessed before inside her own family. Specifically, she claims that the way Meg is handling this situation mirrors what their mother once did during her own separation from their father.
Everyone that I know personally, hundreds of people know who I am, seen me. I was a photographer. They trust me with their own kids. I used to take fairy pictures. I am not an abusive mother. Did I maybe yell once or twice at them? Yes. Never cussed around them. I never had man around them besides the one guy I dated. And I haven't been with a guy for 6 years. Nothing. My kids were my world. And no person that doesn't abuse their kids have all these type of videos. My kids are happy. My kids are safe, feel safe with me.
The accusations, manipulation, controlling the narrative, and turning family conflicts into public battles. In other words, SJ isn't just criticizing her sister's actions. She believes this behavior is part of a much older pattern. According to her, it's the same story, just playing out again in a different generation.
So, hold the picture up like this. And I'm going to attach the song. We'll see if it lets me stay. But this song's amazing. Hold them up. Let us know. Let the government see. Let people know that this can happen to you. This can happen to anybody. This can happen to any person, even a great mother like myself. And it's happened to wonderful women that I know. And men. This is not a gender thing. This is a corrupt system. Corrupt. They want money for these heads, and they're damaging their lives. Stand up, show me your pictures of your kids, put emojis on their faces if you don't want us to see, to show how many people are getting affected by this problem.
But what was Meg actually doing when she lost custody of her first child? According to clips that resurfaced online, around that same period, Meg documented several major life changes. She talked about getting cosmetic surgery, moving into a new house, and even taking a vacation. A lot of viewers found that timeline confusing because publicly, Meg was presenting herself as a mother who had just been devastated by losing custody of her child. Privately, though, the lifestyle she showed online seemed very different. Now, everyone copes with difficult situations in their own way, but when those two images sit side by side, the public grief and the private upgrades, it created a contradiction that many people online simply couldn't ignore. And while the internet debated those contradictions, another voice entered the conversation, someone much closer to Meg, her sister.
Hello and welcome back to what I think is the final installment of what is going on with Stand With Meg. Today we're talking about how my family, our family, feels about Stand With Meg's TikToks as well as my TikToks. So let's get into it. So Megan and I both share a mom and a dad.
And unlike most critics on the internet, SJ wasn't speaking as an outsider. She was speaking as someone who had grown up with Meg. which made what she had to say even more uncomfortable.
So between these two people, they would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 children. That's right, 9 children. And why did they have 9 children? Here's my working theory. So child number 1 was a girl. Child number 2 was a girl. And at this point, my mother said to anybody who would listen that she wanted to give my dad a boy. She felt like it was important that there was a boy in the family. My dad never ever expressed a wish for this.
According to SJ, the tension between them didn't just start recently. She says it had been building for years. At one point, the situation became so overwhelming for her that she tried to process it in a very different way. Not through a rant, not through an argument, but through a poem.
Everyone that I know personally, hundreds of people know who I am, seen me. I was a photographer. They trust me with their own kids. I used to take fairy pictures. I am not an abusive mother. Did I maybe yell once or twice at them? Yes. Never cussed around them. I never had man around them besides the one guy I dated. And I haven't been with the guy for 6 years. Nothing. My kids were my world. And no person that doesn't abuse their kids have all these type of videos. My kids are happy. My kids are safe, feel safe with me.
Hi, I am running out of energy talking about my sister and trying to get her to stop posting about her children and to get her to take her role as a mother seriously. It's an uphill battle of nonsense, and all I have left is like, so instead of trying to dispute all of her like individual lies, which is a whole journey, I wanted to read you something called Throne of Lies. It's a poem. Yeah. In a castle grand, built on deceit, the narcissist reigns with lies replete. Her words weave tales, shiny yet false, truth in shadows under her pulse. Children bow low to her masked grace, fear in their eyes, smiles out of place. A kingdom of whispers where trust is thin, on the throne of lies, she wears a grin.
That alone goes to show how heavy and serious this whole thing has gotten. When a person is driven to poetry hair to cope with the chaos, something is very wrong. Anyway, SJ has been very clear right from the start. She's not standing with Meg. But she isn't folding her arms and crossing her legs, no. She's actively speaking against her own sister.
I've had a lot to say about Stand With Meg, how she's not the victim of the family court that she claims to be, how she's not the perfect mother that's been destroyed by the system, how she's not the advocate for the family courts that we need, and how she's not a woman that should be giving legal advice.
But you know what's even worse? The entire situation with Meg isn't a one-off family issue. It's a consistent pattern, because Meg's mother did the exact same thing to her father. Same manipulation, same narrative, same old playbook.
And most of my life was spent hating my father. We had some fond memories. It was a lot of discourse between me and my father, which made sense because my mom and dad fought a lot. I think they were married like 35 years before they finally got divorced, but they tried to make the marriage thing work. Or so I thought. Dun, dun, dun. So after years and years and years of being at odds with my father, who I believed to my core was abusive and manipulative and hateful to my mother. I didn't invite either of them to my wedding, but specifically my dad was not at my wedding, which is still hard to this day to admit. But when I was like 23, I was doing a lot of therapy, trying to figure out I was super espresso depresso all the time, and started reflecting on some of the stories my mom had told me about my father. And I realized every story that I had in my little paquito of why my father was an abusive, terrible person was a story that I had heard secondhand from my madre, my mother. I don't know, I'm speaking Spanish this morning. He hadn't actually done any of those things to me, but we lived in the same house. And I was like, that's super weird. So I went to some of my other siblings. Again, there are many. And I was like, hey, yo, so mom told me this. What did she tell you? And they proceeded to be like, oh, no, mom told me this. Very different stories around what had happened growing up. And like these were like really severe stories. So like there were stories my mom used to tell me all the time that my dad said he would divorce her if she ever got fat. That was like a big one she repeated often. He'd never said that. apparently she would bring that up often. He'd be like, I never said that.
Is Meg a product of her childhood experiences? Guess we'll never know, because as soon as SJ started connecting those dots publicly, Meg did what she does best.
About staying with Meg's sister.
Yeah, let's talk about her.
Her sister has been a resident at several mental hospitals. How about we start talking about that?
You're right, we should talk about that. That's embarrassing for staying with Meg's sister. Me. I'm not embarrassed. Like, this is always Megan's default go-to. I know, Tara, you're like newish to her like friend group, but she always comes for this. Yes, when I was in my early 20s, I did check myself into a mental health facility because I was thinking about schmiving my schmelf. And here's the thing, I'd do it again. If I needed that support, I would go do it again. I would take a Grippy Socks vacation. It's good for the soul if you need it. But here's what's gonna happen next. More and more people are gonna come at me that are from Megan's circle. Megan very rarely comes at me directly. Will come at me. They will talk about my mental health. I don't care. She will bring up, this one actually breaks my heart a little bit, I'll be honest. She will bring up that when I had my first child, they were very slow to release me. Megan's theory was that was because I had a bipolar 2 diagnosis on my account. We don't know that, actually. They said they wanted to keep me after I had my first for new parent observation. It was very scary and dramatic. She was actually really helpful and like very involved in that, so it hurts a little bit extra that she uses that story to like throw shade at me. But yeah, when I had my first son, my mental health was an issue. I think, we don't know, but she'll bring that up. She'll also start coming for my husband and his role, which is interesting. It doesn't really lead anywhere. And then she'll also talk about her mother's being the mayor of Cameron. She loves to talk about that. It's one of her favorite things. So you probably start seeing that soon. Let me know if you have any questions about mental health or what it's like to take a trip to a mental health facility. By the way, Tara, nice to meet you.
Once Meg felt cornered by her sister's accusations, she sprang up news about her sister having mental health issues, except SJ wasn't rattled. She acknowledged that, yes, she struggled with her mental health in the past. SJ blatantly called it out, explaining that it was years ago and it had nothing to do with the fact she was presenting. When Meg saw this, she decided to escalate further, filing a defamation case against her own flesh and blood.
Okay, I'll try to give a short story of what happened, but the case my sister had against me, the defamation case, was dismissed. The judge dismissed it with prejudice, which means she can't like amend it and refile it. They were like, this is done, this is over. It went about exactly as I expected. It just took a little longer. Like, court hearings take forever, like court stuff. The judge never saw any evidence. Essentially, he dismissed it on the merits of like her lawsuit wasn't even well enough written that it justified moving forward. She sure tried to, though. The things that she asked for were insane. The motions that she wrote were insane. But we got through it, and now I'm done, and I can say this wholeheartedly. She abused her kids. She continues to ignore their wishes, which is for her to stop posting their faces on social media. She continues to harass her ex and his new wife of almost 8 years. Obsessed much?
As if it wasn't bad enough that SJ was raising awareness against her own sister, Meg's kids joined the frenzy. At this point, it's so hard to tell what's left of the story Meg told us because even the people who are closest to her are dismantling it piece by piece. Next, we'll be talking about something that's not often talked about, the money. Here's the most interesting part. Meg has no kids to care for since she lost custody. No school runs, no grocery bills for 5 kids, nothing. But somehow, someway, she is perpetually and mysteriously broke.
Her telling parents to go to Petitions for Justice and let them build a website for them with a petition that gets sent right to legislators and that you can't get in trouble is blatant negligence on her behalf. You can get in trouble because that site charges you. And when you pay somebody to put up a website for you, you're responsible for the website and you'll be held liable for it in a court of law. But I bet we're going to find out somewhere down the road that this is just another Meg grift and that she's in some way, shape, or form profiting off of this website, and that's why all of a sudden she's pushing it so hard.
Except she wasn't.
You have no idea. I'm pretty broke. Like my girlfriend, my neighbor actually gave me money last week so I could go to court for gas money. Thank you. I don't have any money though, so could anyone help buy those for me? I literally was hoping I could get $5 from my Venmo to get on and talk to her. It is funny though, when DC, and once I get enough money raised so I can go to DC, I'm going to walk the halls and talk to Congress and say, you better pass this, because this would have a donation on my website you can go to help donate
to keep me talking and doing this because, this doesn't make me money at all. And it's hard. I mean, my bank account right now is negative 400. But the truth is, I'm completely financially broke. Every penny that has been donated has helped pay for my online platforms, my website, just to stay afloat, as people don't realize it costs a lot of money per month to pay for everything. And honestly, sometimes I've had to use the money to buy for food. I know we all...
When I say Meg's making money off social media, it's literal. We're talking TikTok Creator Fund, live gifts, brand visibility, coaching sales, course sales, legal roadmaps, case reviews, and even through her website. Her income streams are right there in plain sight, yet she lied about not making any on TikTok. Absolutely unnecessary, but very Meg-like. Thankfully, SJ was quick to flag it.
Megan posted receipts this morning of what she's earned on TikTok. Okay, it happens really fast. Okay, so she's trying to say that she doesn't have the Creators Rewards program turned on, which is fair. According to this screenshot, she doesn't, but she also has all of these turned on. TikTok Shop for Creators, so she makes money off products she sells. Creator Marketplace, work with artists, and subscription. She has all of these things turned on. Like, this confirms this, that she does have other methods of turning on. In this screenshot, she doesn't actively have it turned on. However, she then goes and does this. She then shows us how much money she either made or could make on videos that were sent in the last week and how much she earned on them. This is correct. This low of views is not going to earn you much. So she's simultaneously saying she has Creator Rewards program turned off and turned on. Because the little Creator Rewards program, that means it's on. So I don't know if she turned it on and then back off, but like, this doesn't mean anything. This just means in the last week, she hasn't made money on videos, which is fair. She hasn't got many views. Like, it takes a lot of views to make money on TikTok.
So yeah, we've established that she's making money, but where does all that money go? Because on one hand, Meg can't even afford an attorney.
11 years been fighting, and everything went south when I couldn't afford an attorney anymore.
She's told us so many times and has even branded herself that way. The struggling mother of 5 kids who can't even afford proper legal representation. And then, on the other hand, she owns a house. A whole house to her name.
So my house is on the market. I just moved into this home last September. All by myself, I moved, got a 50-passenger truck, everything to move into this home. And got it, and now it's listed for sale. My kids and I were so excited to come to this home. We would come late at night.
I mean, the last time I checked, a house costs far more than an attorney's retainer, but really, make it make sense.
I'm so broke because of family court and CPS that I have to drive the country roads to get to the Capitol because I can't afford the tolls.
How does a single woman living alone with 0 responsibilities and multiple streams of income manage to be perpetually broke? Lost her precious house. She even opened a GoFundMe. And her campaign wasn't to help pay her bills or help pay the legal fees. No.
You guys to be a spotlight feature. There's going to be paid options. But my biggest thing is I started GoFundMe. And it's to support for you guys so that I can keep telling your stories. Supporting me supports your voice. And it doesn't have to be just family court. But I will tell you, I even had judges in different states ask the person, the pro se parent, are you a Stand With Meg? They're scared.
It was something along the lines, support me to support you so I can keep telling you stories. She basically milked her audience, turning them into her financial safety net. How? By gaslighting them. She just convinced them into thinking that they need her more than she needs them. Those were the tears that had everyone reaching frantically for their wallets. People gave to Meg because they believed in her. They believed in what she was fighting for, and because she was a representative of every other exhausted, heartbroken mother they knew. Anyway, at this point, I think we can all agree that Meg's brokenness wasn't a predicament, it was a strategy. Now that we understand more clearly the kind of person that Meg really is outside of our emotional sentiment, we actually need to revisit her family court claims. Because if you think about it deeply, Meg didn't have a problem with the family court when they gave her 80% custody and $6,000 alimony.
We can't be quiet anymore. Keep telling your stories. Don't be scared. There's hope, people. We will change and reform this family court.
And to truly understand her family court campaign, I think you first need to hear Meg's definition of family court.
What is family court? It's not a criminal court with cops. It's where divorce and the custody of children's lives are decided by one person and one judge alone. Does that sound fair? It doesn't, and it's not. Here's how it works. One parent accuses the other parent. They say they're unfit, or they have a mental illness, or whatever you want to say. Normal courts, you have to provide evidence within the court to prove your accusations. You need witnesses on the stand, under oath, a real hearing where both sides get to talk and share their truth. That is called due process. And that is under the constitutional rights, as your right as an American citizen is the right of due process. But family courts, they stop it. Judges hold emergency hearings with closed doors, no juries, and sometimes no notice. They only hear one side, maybe a report from a therapist, from the other parent, from the guardian ad litem. Somebody is supposed to check the facts, but often it doesn't. No proof? It doesn't matter. They will rule any way they want. You can be cut off for months or years or decades from your own child, waiting for a real trial and trying to understand the process. And guess what? The more money you have, typically, the more you win.
At first, when Meg started this campaign, her major goal was change.
Exposing the corrupt system. And the only thing we can do is stand together and demand change. Email all your House representatives, all your senators, tell them your story. Why don't we have a committee for family courts? This is a huge epidemic. People are getting affected by it, and no one knows because they put a gag order on you. We gotta stand up and say enough is enough.
And it made sense. She wanted the family court to change some things, change some of their operations to just basically become better. But along the line, there was a switch. And instead of advocating change, she started saying that no one should go to family court any longer.
I will not be going to any more trial in family court. If we all do this together, guess what? No one's going to family court anymore.
She wanted to shut it down completely. And now, as you'd expect, her priorities seem to have shifted again. Because Megan started from, I want my kids back, to family court change, to family court is bad. And now you know what Megan's up to?
This is why it's so important. We do the Family Justice and Accountability Act in October. You know, I'm trying really, really hard to stay positive. You've seen me work so hard. The Supreme Court just came back and denied my mandamus because they said I should have a remedy in my district courts, but I don't.
She's now focused on pushing a new mandate, Family Justice and Accountability Act. I wonder if she also got that from ChatGPT. And just when you think you've heard the worst of it, there's still more. Because beyond the lies, beyond the fraud, beyond the fight for justice, let's not forget that there were actual children in the midst of all of this. 5 of them. And the question that keeps popping up in my head over and over again is whether those kids were ever actually safe with Meg. Especially because many of you might not know this, but the emotional abuse claims made against Meg were substantiated. Every single one of Meg's kids confirmed that their relationship with their mom has impacted their emotional and social well-being. Their therapist confirmed this. Even their caregivers agreed. And of course, the court also confirmed it. But as usual, Meg had a different story. Just like when the drug claims were made against her. There's evidence that shows Meg giving to a minor.
There's a rumor going around that I gave my daughter THC, and that rumor has to stop.
If you're confused about the recent audio and video circulating from Stand With Meg confirming that she gave her daughter HCC and talking to her daughter about planning time to smoke THC and HCC together, to all the people that say this was bonding or she was trying to help her daughter with anxiety, you clearly hear her say that when you breathe it out your nose, you get more high.
See, here's your mother, and she's having more high. Telling you to breathe out of your nose.
Even with all the available evidence, Meg still denied the allegation.
But the facts are right here. It's documented. That's it. No story, no fancy narrative. They're pushing a lie. And here's the truth, with receipt.
In fact, according to Meg, she only gave her daughter some CBD oil, and even said that the police had confirmed it.
This police report that I redacted for personal people's names, the investigator detective confirmed it was from the CBD store. So yes, I gave my daughter some CBD oil.
The whole thing just seems shady because apparently Meg either doctored the report or didn't show us the whole thing.
I said, fine, if you want to do this so bad and you're going to die without it, then we'll do it together, under my supervision. And I did that, yes.
Okay.
If not, that's it. And then she went to her friend. And that is the truth.
Okay, so then the truth is you have provided me with HHC then, intentionally.
After she got to it and after she realized how much she liked it, yes, I did together, her and I.
And then came this audio recording.
It was making us really tired, and so we didn't go to sleep. We're like,
Then I do that to go to sleep.
Well, THC makes you tired too.
But I guess THC also gives you, like, it makes you open up your subconscious stuff that you think about.
True. I guess HHC does more. It kind of just.
Yeah, but
we should have this
THC
for like in the morning and then HHC.
No,
like,
THC at the beginning at 7 o'clock, and then by 9 o'clock we do HHC and pass out and go to sleep.
Yeah, that's good.
So tomorrow I'll go.
Why don't we do this at 5, or like whenever I get back from school, so I can just chill for the rest of the night and eat, so I can actually eat, because it really helps me eat for real.
No, and I'm the same way. If I eat tonight, the next day I don't hardly ever eat.
Yeah, so let's like right whenever I get home I can do it, because I'm even around the kids. And then
I have something scheduled for Tuesday. I have a lot of work.
Well, yeah. Well, I need tomorrow. Maybe.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow I'm gonna go to Addie's house, so it's fine.
We have kids tomorrow too. So Tuesday I don't have kids at all.
Well, I know, but I can still hit it.
This whole situation is so sad, clearly. And the kids, when one parent manipulates a child into fearing, resenting, or rejecting the other parent, it's called parental alienation. It's often very subtle, but with time, it causes a deep and lasting emotional damage to the child. That's why the courts always treat this as a serious form of abuse. And if the court findings, the therapist reports, the caregiver testimonies of and about Megan's kids means anything at all, they weren't just caught in the middle. They were the casualties. After losing custody of her 5 kids, Meg was given very clear advice by her loved ones in the family court. Get a job. Live a normal and stable life. Stay off social media. Show the court that you are grounded and stable enough to care for your kids. This way you'd increase your chances of regaining custody. Guess what? Meg did the exact opposite. Knowing fully well that the court has linked her social media presence to her children's emotional well-being, she didn't stop.
He said that I was emotionally abusing my kids because of my social media. And I said, how am I emotionally abusing my children when I haven't seen them in a year? If I'm not with my children, then what they're calling abuse is my voice.
What's most alarming about this whole thing is that she disclosed the location of her 5 children to the entire internet to see.
Advice on something. Please tell me, what would you do in this situation? So I'm walking out, I'm living at my mom's Airbnb, and I want to show you this building. So, for instance, on Christmas, I know I could hear them playing their dirt bikes. I could literally walk there to see my kids. So I stand here.
Not just that, she's also put up pictures and videos of her children on social media for everyone to see. Think about that for a second. Great. At this point, the social media drama is starting to look like an addiction. She can't even get a job for obvious reasons. So social media became her job. She's even been in contempt of court on this issue, but she just wouldn't stop.
Look at this. Oh, perfect. Oh my God. Isn't it great? Chris. I know, it's my dream. I have